Well, here we are. Welcome to On the Couch with Jaamil. Your opportunity to hang with your favorite, artist, scholar, entity. Today is a very special day. We are deep in Sag season, and we have the pleasure of welcoming a dear friend of mine, a fellow artist, New Yorker, spiritualist. Just I think one of my favorite blonde-haired Capricorns. Okay, in the world.
Yes.
Black Mage. Welcome to On the Couch with me.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. This is fabulous. I'm loving it. Yeah. Happy sad season.
Happy Sag season.
Yeah.
Thanks for reminding me that
Yeah.
we are in the season
Yeah.
of the Sag. It is here. It is real. We've been in it. We've been moving through it.
It feels it, like we're going at 100 miles an hour right now.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
I
It's
feel
that time of year.
like my spirit is like in jet lag.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm catching up to myself or something in this strange way. But I may also literally be jet lagged because I was just in Morocco
Oh, yeah?
last weekend.
How was that?
It was beautiful. It was incredible. Did I share anything with you about Morocco?
No.
I think I did. Did I not?
No.
I
I'm
didn't
just finding
invite
out.
you. I'm sorry.
Keeping secrets.
Not keeping secrets. See, that's the problem. Because I was trying for that not to be a secret. Like I wanted to invite as many as possible.
Let me know next time.
I will. Hopefully, I'll be able to do it every year. I want to do it annually, like an annual, joy, rest, restoration retreat to Morocco.
Okay.
Or someplace in the world, like anywhere in the world. I love travel. It keeps my brain, mentally stable. And yeah, and I think we travel well together.
We do.
We've been to a few places.
Yeah, traveling is a very classic Sagittarius trait, though.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are the sign of like expansion and adventure and travel and big ideas. Like, it's a very that's very you.
Yeah.
Very you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I find it's also an opportunity, a way for me to connect with parts of myself that I don't know, just feel a bit cut off usually when I'm like in my everyday mode or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like I'm in my truest expression of self when I'm out and, in the world. And way.
That's the beauty of when the sun returns to your sign.
Your sign.
Yeah, you definitely do feel more alive and, you feel in a more thrive mode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's particularly common whenever it's like that time of year. So that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. It's like the time of year where you drew your first breath,
Mm-hmm.
when air first came into your lungs from the earth. So it's a very important time of year.
Exactly.
It's really a return to that.
Well, yeah, and talk about, breath returning, but or taking that first breath and returning. I was able to celebrate my birthday, really celebrate it, in Morocco, and that felt incredible because my birthday is usually so sandwiched between and within holiday season.
Right, yeah.
So it gets lost between, Thanksgiving and Christmas. And
Yeah.
so it was like, oh my God, I'm able to really be centered
Mm-hmm.
for my birthday. So,
Yeah, it's so
I felt
funny you
good
say
about
that because that's why I say like Sag is one of the hardest times for me to guess. I say you guys are 0 to 100.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are like mad chill, do not give a fuck, or you guys are like out there like doing it, really like going after it. So like,
that is
everything slows down Thanksgiving.
That is true.
It's like quiet and then bam, holiday season, and it's
Exactly.
like parties, festivities. It's like very fast paced up until Christmas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Until you crash,
Yeah.
But
A lot of celebration.
a lot of celebration. But yeah, is there a word or a message or like what is your sort of like spiritual grounding, would you say, in this season? How are you keeping your heart steady and your mind, centered?
Oh man, yeah. For me right now, I think a lot of it is just slowing down in any way I can. So, meditation is very important to me. Being physically active is important to me. It just
Mm-hmm.
grounds me in my body. Just trying not to like exhaust myself and like overcommit myself to too many things right
Sure.
now. I just feel like, there's lots of holiday parties and, people are traveling, people are in and out of town. So, as much time as I can take for myself during this time of year, I think that's like the best thing
Sure.
to keep me grounded and
For sure.
centered and getting sleep,
Yes. Yes.
I know it's like
Rest.
everyone's partying a lot up until like Christmas, but like yeah, getting as much sleep as you can in the meantime
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
important. But
Yeah.
also this season we have Mercury retrograde happening.
Again,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
is she not retrograding?
Oh man, she's retrograding like typically like Mercury's in retrograde 3 to 4 times a year because Mercury's much closer to the sun than we
Mm,
are, so it orbits the sun significantly faster. So
okay.
when it passes the Earth, that's when we go through retrograde season. And so because Mercury's just moving so quickly, by the time Earth makes its full, orbit around the sun, Mercury has already passed the sun like 3 times.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. That helps.
yeah,
That helps. That visualization really helps.
yeah.
But okay, so for those of the community who don't know you, Mage, how do you identify or, understand your work in the world right now?
How I identify? So yeah, I mean, through your introduction, I do a lot of things. So,
Mm-hmm.
starting from the very beginning, I'm a classically trained cellist. So that is my background, and that's kind of what I feel like a lot of my life has been built on top of.
Mm-hmm.
And like as a child, I always loved music. I loved the radio. I'm from Atlanta, so we had some amazing radio stations growing
Yeah.
up. So I was very blessed to just be surrounded by just very, very good music. But then by the time I was 10 or 11, I started playing the cello because that's where we began in school in sixth grade.
Mm-hmm.
And, that became my life
Yes, it did.
for a very, very long time. And after that is when I started to get into wine after school. And, that was a very big one-to-one to me was wine and music.
Mm.
And from there, I started getting into tarot and spirituality. A friend gave me a tarot deck, and then like that was like my portal into just the broader understanding of the universe and spirituality in general. Because you learn about tarot, you start learning about astrology because there's astrological associations with the tarot deck, so you want to learn more. I started getting into crystals and all of that, and that was just like a total portal into you know, understanding spirituality and psychedelics. I discovered
Mm.
psychedelics around the same time. And then I also rediscovered music, but, electronically. So I started DJing and exploring myself musically through DJing. And yeah, the
Mm.
rest is history. Here I am.
Yeah.
Here I am. And
Here
then we
we
met
are.
sometime after that. And here we
Yes,
are,
here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just like, well, this person who does like is a sommelier, a cellist, a tarot reader, just like all of these things. I'm like,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just like when I'm passionate about something, like I'm just deeply, deeply, dedicated to it.
yeah.
And, I feel like I'm a student of life,
Yes.
like a lifelong learner.
100%.
There's always something new to learn. There's always new knowledge to attain,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like, as a Sag, like Sagittarius are very big on that,
Mm-hmm.
too. So for me, I'm just very dedicated to like what I feel passionate about.
100%. And being
Yeah.
able to follow that journey of passion and yeah, just really staying true to that. That's what I really cherish. I think about our friendship and just ability to find each other is yeah, something about inspiring and just sort of um yeah, just seeing how your light is radiating and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, what
And
brings me
just
joy,
yeah.
like what brings you joy. That's why it's so hard for me to have a hobby
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like if anything becomes a hobby for me, it just like I take it as far as I can take
100,
it. You
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I really go for it
Yeah,
because
as
it
you
becomes
should.
borderline obsession.
Yeah.
You know.
So I know. So you told me about what was the book? Managing uh something about adult
Oh, I
parents.
know. The
The
adult children
uh,
of emotionally immature parents.
say that again. The adult children of emotionally
Yes.
immature parents.
Yes, The
Yes.
Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents by, oh gosh, forgot the author's name. Lindsay something.
Lindsay, do we need to look it up real
We
quick?
should look it up
Let's
real
look it
quick.
up. All right.
Okay,
Crew, can we look up the
I
the
got it. I got it. Lindsay Gibson.
Lindsay Gibson?
Lindsay
Yeah.
Gibson. This was a life-changing book. Life-changing. And I read, but I don't really read books. I read a lot of like news articles and things like that. So it's been a minute since I've sat down and like read a book. And this summer, just the divine timing of this book showing up in my life was perfect.
Yeah.
And so this book essentially talks about how our caretakers influence how we respond to the world emotionally. And when you have an emotionally immature caretaker, your ability to emotionally develop becomes stunted. Typically, with emotionally immature caretakers, you are required basically to behave in certain ways to get the emotional nourishment and attention that you need to develop. And so, like, if you have a parent who's very self absorbed and self centered, that child is going to do everything they can to get that parent's attention. So it could be, overachieving. It could be, you know, um, you know, bad acts, like acting up in school, all sorts of stuff, to get the emotional nourishment that you need as a young child. And one of the most fascinating things that I learned in this book was this thing called the still face experiment. And it's essentially an experiment where they have a baby or a child interacting with their parent, and the parent is just kind of like giving the baby attention. They're like laughing, they're playing. And then what happens is the parent turns around, they create like a still face with no emotional response at all, and they turn around and they start staring back at the baby. And you can see the baby like doing everything it can to get this parent's attention. It goes from laughing to confusion to all of a sudden the baby just starts wailing and crying and just wanting to get out of his chair, and just it's actually really heartbreaking to watch. But seeing how as young as 1 year old, how a lack of emotional response can really be disruptive to our well-being.
100%.
And so we all have, many of us have had very emotionally immature caretakers, which is why we have a tendency to grow up feeling like we have to act a certain way in order to get our emotional needs met.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very fascinating book.
Well, something that I grapple with is what I call sort of emotional, like, it's like I don't fully trust my emotions. Like I don't fully trust my happiness, or just like there's
Why?
like these
Sir,
doubts.
Is there
that
a specific?
surface.
Can you name something specific, or can you talk a little bit about why?
I mean, it usually happens like when I'm in a moment where I'm like, you should be happy.
Oh yeah,
And I'm like
yeah.
judging my lack of happiness or something.
Right. Yeah, and that is, that's a.
But I may be happy and I just don't know it. That's the other part. It's
I
like
think
a kind of.
I think that's why a gratitude practice is so important.
It's so important.
I
Right?
think that is, you know, I think one of the most grounding things that you can do for yourself, especially when you're on hard times.
Exactly. Practice gratitude.
And really just appreciating the little things. And I know, like, New York City is, not an easy place to live. It's a very stressful place to live. But there are people all over the world that wish they could live here, that wish that they could come here, that wish that they could, you know, have the opportunities that this city can afford them. And you know, as much as I complain about MTA and you know complain about our mayor, you know, it's still you know one of the best cities in the world, regardless. Because at the end of the day, I'm still here. You know, many of us are still here. We haven't left yet, and there's a reason for that. Because the city spoils you.
Yeah.
It really does spoil you. But it's you know, it's not an easy place to live, and you know, just remembering that you know that you can't get the same things other places that you can get here.
For sure.
You know, kind of keeps you grounded in the reality of you know this place does you know has a lot and does a lot of great things, and it's, you know, it's really cool to be here. So
Yeah, I think of it as a kind of, I don't know, emotional insecurity maybe is a way to express it, you know, and like, and I think I inherited that emotional insecurity from specifically from my mother, you know, my parents, I would say,
yeah,
and yeah, just sort of being forced into this like parentified situation
where you were your own parent.
I was my own, exactly. You know, so that just going back to some of those themes, you know, that you were mentioning, and so I'm guess I'm just curious about ways of developing, you know, tools or strategies to help grow that inner child, you know.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I talk about a lot, especially with my clients when I'm doing readings, is you know, doing things that bring you joy, you know, authentic joy, you know, and joy when when you're having so much fun and you're just, you know, in the moment so much, you know, when
Like
you're
there is no doubt in
right,
it.
there is no doubt.
You're
You
so
know,
in
it's
it,
kind of like
yeah.
when you're having a great time, you don't stop to tell yourself, "Wow, I'm having a great time right now." You know,
Exactly,
you're
yeah.
so busy just like laughing and enjoying yourself. So, I think you know, finding things that bring you joy. I think that's why you know, after school, I wasn't really playing the cello as much, and I found music again in a different way because music has always brought me joy. I just found it like in a different capacity, you know. Even things as simple as like just like pulling out a coloring book. You know, there's something very satisfying about like coloring in the lines and things like that, and you know, getting back to your inner child. Like, what were the things that you loved doing like as a kid? You know, that's one of the interesting things about that book, The Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, is it talks about, or it asks you to kind of visualize like who you were like before age 9. And I'm reading this book and I'm like, huh? Like I can't even like think back that far and like that deeply to remember so specifically like who I was like before age 9. But once you start digging back into that, you start to realize that there are many things that you maybe have deprived yourself of because of, you know, society forcing us to grow up and behave a certain way or act a certain way, or you know, don't do that, you'll never make money as an adult, you know, kind of giving up our childhood passions or dreams to, you know, fit into a society's, you know, pipeline for how we're supposed to live our lives and, you know, what our journey is supposed to be based on, you know, that. But I think, you know, when you push all of that away and you just really get back into who you were, you know, untouched before you started feeling like you had to be this or that in order to be happy, I think you'll start to find things in your life that maybe you had forgotten about, or things in your dreams that you'd wish you had, you know, pursue that you didn't. And, you know, getting back into those things, which are really at the core of you, is, I think, really important in finding completion.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
You know?
I mean, I remember being a 7-year-old, like, and looking into the mirror and looking for my father, you know, because at that point in my life, my mother had told me that basically any one of 3 men could have been my father. So I really thought for a minute, I was like, one of these 3 guys, like, I've been calling daddy. I need to make a decision for myself. Who's my daddy?
At 7.
At 7. So I looked in the mirror, and I'll never forget, like, just looking, searching for my father in my face, and being able to like know for myself who it was, you know. And now I look back all of these years later at that 7-year old, you know, child,
Forced to
and
make.
just like, hey, I'm here. I can, you know, I'll be your daddy.
Right.
I'm gonna give you what you need. We all right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can calm down. You can stop searching. You know what I mean? So always in that conversation of just trying to comfort, you know, that inner, you know, that inner child.
Yeah.
Is there a pull or a message that we might offer for this season? Folks might not see this until like January, so I don't
Oh,
know how
okay.
that might impact what we want to share or how we can share. But is there like a message, a card, I don't know, an astrology,
Yeah. Okay.
you know,
I can
moment that
pull
we
a
might
card.
want to offer the
I
people?
know. This will be easy to remember. We have a new moon
Okay.
on 1/11, January
Oh,
11th. It'll be our first new moon of the year in
okay.
Capricorn. And for those of you who don't know astrology or some astrology tips, the new moon will always be in the same sign as the season that we're in. So if it's Capricorn season, the new moon will always be in Capricorn. If it's, Gemini season, the new moon will always be in Gemini. And the full moon will always be in the sister sign or the astrological opposite.
Mm,
So if it's a new moon in Capricorn, then the full moon will be in Cancer. If it's a, new moon in Gemini, the full moon will be in Sagittarius.
okay.
So this, just some tips to help you when trying to figure out what sign the moon is going to be in or where we're moving astrologically next. And yeah, let's pull a card
Let's
for
pull it.
January.
Let's
For
pull it for January. What we
January.
looking to? What we about to get into? What this future about to reveal
Okay, let's talk about
for
January.
us? Where we going?
Okay. So it's all about planting seeds. This is a card of
Ace of
abundance.
Pentacles.
So yeah, this is the Ace of Pentacles. Pentacles in tarot represent earth. They represent material things, material wealth. They represent family, work, home, our
Resources.
physical bodies.
Yeah.
This is a very this is an earth element, earth sign. Pentacles represent earth signs as well. So the ace is at the beginning of that story of the pentacles. And so just like a deck of cards, we have the ace through 10, and then we have the court cards. In tarot, we have the same thing. So for this suit, this is like the first sign of this suit. And so this is all a card about planting seeds. What seeds do we want to see grow over the next year? What is our ultimate goal and what do we want to see for the next year? And it's also saying hard work is going to be necessary. You don't plant seeds to grow a garden and then expect it to be blooming in 2 days, right? Like it's the care over time that is necessary to see that garden bloom. So it's a hand popping out of a cloud showing that there's opportunity. So if you're looking for a new job or a new career, January could be a really good time to start looking or planting seeds for that, or sending your resume out. And you can tell that, because of the mountains in the backdrop of the card, that this is a journey that's going to require work, but the effort will be well worth it when you reach the top. So just, you're not seeing this till January, but, this month we do have a Mercury retrograde in Capricorn. So this is a time of just slowing down. Capricorns were planners, it's a sign of like ambition and success and reaching new heights. It's not a particularly risk-taking sign. So this is a good time to slow down, to rethink our plans for what we want to do next year, figure out what worked, what didn't work, and re-strategize on that. I think that's really, really important. But I mean, this is just good advice in general at the beginning of any year.
Yeah.
This is also, this could also mean like it's time to get into your exercise routine, but stick with it. You know, don't just say like I'm going to start exercising this year, but like give yourself a goal. But before that, say, you know, I want to lose 10 pounds by this time,
Yeah.
and then come up with a plan of how you're going to do it, and then stick to it. It's all about consistency.
Consistency.
You know, Capricorns, we're very much about consistency. So that is my advice for you for January, for when people are seeing this.
Consistency.
Yeah.
Consistency. 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 That is
Yeah.
the word of the day. Consistency.
Consistency.
Yes, just keep it
And
consistent.
keep it consistent, and that is, you know, being able to be consistent has nothing to do with how you feel. Being consistent has no, you know, being consistent has everything to do with an overall goal, like an overall plan. It has nothing to do with how you feel. You know, so, you know, to get back into the workout analogy, like, yeah, you may not feel like getting up to work out, but that doesn't matter. Being consistent doesn't matter, or it doesn't matter how you feel. Being consistent, you know, requires you to just do it regardless of
how you feel.
Of how you feel.
Consistency doesn't care about how you feel.
It does not care about how you feel.
Consistency does not care about how you feel.
Nope.
Bam. All right.
She don't give a.
She don't give a fuck.
She don't give a fuck. She don't care.
She don't care.
Yeah,
she don't care.
She wants results.
care.
You
She
know,
wants-
consistency breeds results.
Yeah.
Period.
Beautiful.
So even if you are someone who doesn't like put in like that much effort, just the mere fact of doing it, you know, every day, every week, every whatever, is really what's going to breed those results.
Yeah.
You know, and being okay with small successes along the way, rather than getting caught up in, you know, the big success at the end. You know, focusing on what you put in.
Yeah.
You know,
What
and
you
not
give
you're getting
attention
out.
to grows.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
What you give attention to grows.
Yeah. What's the saying? Oh gosh, it was a saying, but I forgot it. It's like energy flows where the mind goes.
Energy flows where the mind goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mage,
Thank you.
for this
Thank
enlightenment.
you. I love this. Thank you for having me. This is fantastic. Yeah.
You know, we trying to do things over here on this couch, getting it moving, trying to practice consistency.
Yeah.
We'll
It's
see what
hard.
happens, yeah.
Consistency is hard. Again, it has nothing to do with how you feel.
Exactly. That part.
It's nothing
that
to do with how you
part.
feel. So
All right. Well, that's a wrap.
that's a wrap.
That's a wrap for us.
Okay.
This was nice.
Yes.
That was nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I enjoyed that a lot.
Let me hug your face.
Like, please.
All
Can
right.
we?